being said, we'll dive right in. Well, good morning.
Great.
My name is Nick Medencia. I'm the founder and CEO of Drone Parks Worldwide. So at Drone Parks Worldwide, it's our mission to give the world the gift of flight while making the skies above us safer. So our ultimate vision is to build drone stadiums across the world where anyone can enter and fly a drone for any reason. Let me get this thing off. There we go. Beautiful. Okay. So right now, the truth is that drones are pretty doomed. Drones of all kinds are expensive, complex, and worst of all, flown in dangerous flying locations. After all, when I, as a racing drone pilot, pick up my drone to go fly, my greatest fear is hitting a kid and getting sued into oblivion. Our solution to this is drone parks. Our drone parks are indoor spaces where you can rent a drone for an affordable price. But most importantly, you can fly in a safe location. Through some of our proprietary designs and technologies, you never actually touch your drone, meaning that you and your kid have no risk of ever being hurt by it. So what is a drone park? Well, basically, right now we're looking at doing our first parks here in Texas. Right now I'm actually in Houston in our corporate headquarters, AKA my study. So, but yeah, so we get asked a lot, what is a drone park? So a drone park basically is a space where anyone can enter and fly a drone for any reason. So during the week, we want to train people for commercial purposes. And on the weekends, we want to turn it into a recreational facility. However, this is the formal definition here. So here's some things you could do in a drone park. In red, we have some things that you could do as a person. You can learn to fly. You can spectate through FPV, which I'll explain later. And then you can compete. And if you're a corporate entity, you can do corporate team building, do stuff like parties and gatherings and education services. And on the bottom right here, if you're a commercial drone operator, you can get your commercial drone operator certificate and train. So how does a drone park work? So essentially, your experience can be summed up in 3 steps. The first is enter your drone park. And what really caught our eye about Chattanooga that we wanted to apply is that, you know, here in Texas, we've done actually all of the 1 million cups except for one. And so let's see if I can get my camera back on here. Oh, there we go. Hey, yeah, so we've done all the 1 million cups except for one. And what really sparked our eye is that, you know, right now we have 3 target markets for our very first facility. We have Houston, Austin, and then Waco. And, you know, Waco is a really interesting story I can tell you guys about later. But what really sparked our eye about Chattanooga is that's a very similar market to Waco. So with that being said, let me reshare this. Beautiful. So yeah, so that's your first step. Next is learn to fly a drone. So we've taught over 1,500 people how to fly drones over the last year and a half. And we can teach you faster than anyone else in the world can. And better than anyone else in the world can. Or you can just relax and watch. And thirdly, fly a drone, compete with someone or your kid, and dominate them, or let them dominate you if they're your kid. So normally right here, we'd be doing actually a drone demonstration. However, since we're like 600, 800 miles away from each other, I'm just going to explain it. So it's pretty cool. Let's see, let me get this back on. Oop. Hey, everybody. All right. So the way our drones work is that this is a racing drone. And so right here, there's this camera that transmits live time to a set of goggles that the pilot wears. And the pilot will wear those goggles and he'll see, or he or she will see exactly what this drone is seeing. And so basically you feel like you're flying in the drone itself. Yeah, so normally when we do 1 million cups, we have a drone a little smaller than this that we take with us and we fly, and it's really fun. We bump into people's heads and everyone laughs. It's great. So yeah, so essentially that's the way that works. Let me throw my screen back up on here. All right, so who is our market for this? So essentially our market is young men with no kids and a good paying job. Someone like a software developer or a mechanical engineer. Next, our secondary market is millennial mothers. people with kids under 18 and a good income. And basically our strategy for all of this is to attack a smaller market, less than $3 billion, and actually grow the market while growing our market share. And this is derived from Silicon Valley angel investor Peter Thiel. So what are the stats for this? So right now we're seeing a huge explosive growth in the drone industry. In fact, we're seeing a 32% compounded annual growth. And right now there's going to be over 7 million drones in our airspace by 2020. But most startling of all is that there's not a single drone park anywhere. So essentially we were choosing Texas because it's one of the top 3 drone states. So right now there's 3 large drone states, Texas, Florida, and California. And Texas actually has the most dispensable income out of all of them. Our revenue streams are all centered around actually selling subscriptions to our facilities, just like you would a gym. And buying a subscription, you are actually unlocking more of our proprietary curriculum, which is going to make you a better pilot. So right now our plan is we're going to open our very first angel round in next month. Wow, time flies. Next month. And then we plan to open a venture round sometime in spring of 2019 to further some of our technologies. Yeah, so thank you guys again so much for coming out. And once again, this is the first presentation I've done from like 600 miles away, and so that's awesome. And I would love it if you guys would join our online Drone Parks family of over 105,000 people on your favorite social media. And yeah, just thank you guys so much. I look forward to your questions. Hey, that's an awesome shirt, by the way, there with the blue and white.
Yeah, he's rocking it. Okay, we'll open it up to questions. Can you hear people?
Yep. You might have to repeat them though.
Okay. Anyone? Hold on, sorry.
Yeah. No worries.
Where was the idea of born?
You're gonna have to repeat that, somebody.
Where was the idea of born?
So essentially, my background is in traditional aviation. So actually, I started flying planes when I was 12, small Cessnas. And then in the summer of 2015, I really wanted to buy a drone. And I found out it was really hard. And I was like, I don't know what any of these technical acronyms are. Why is this so hard? And that's how the idea was born. Yeah. And then a year later, Marjorie, who's our co-founder and COO, actually went out and joined us. And that's when we sort of formally became a company. So, yeah.
Cool, thanks. And I'm Craig.
Thanks so much, Craig.
Cool.
And I guess let me ask you guys. Normally with 1 million cups, we get the question of what can the community do for you guys? I guess what I'm really curious to hear is, do you guys think this is something that would work for Chattanooga? And why or why not?
Can you give us a little better vision of what the actual complex will look like? Because I imagine probably there's a couple places here in Chattanooga, areas of Chattanooga where it might make sense depending on what it looks like. Downtown, you have a lot of influx of people. We have a place kind of east of town. Downtown. So what does your complex look like? What are your size requirements?
Yeah, so for our first sort of wave of parks, what we're looking at is spaces between 10 to 35,000 square feet. Ideally in a downtown or sort of a hotter real estate area. And ideally, we're actually looking for older spaces that are more decrepit and run down. Not only does that really add to our customer experience, but that's also what's most technically friendly for the drones. And so with the minimal ceiling requirement of 12 feet. So, yeah.
Like just drones there too?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's part of one of our secondary revenue streams is having a very small retail facility, or not, a very small retail outlet with our facility where people can come and buy drones and accessories and t-shirts and that sort of thing. So
Yeah, I think there's definitely an interest in it because it's something that is becoming very well known. In the Amazon, we have an Amazon distribution center here, and so people, I think drones are well known in the community, but not largely. A lot of people have or have ever even flown one. It's not an interesting introduction, if nothing else.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. That's a great perspective.
We're looking into.
Tim?
I'm sorry, say that again?
My question is what will be the benefit of flying a drone in people at the park?
Yeah, so essentially, if you're a first-time user, honestly, you're pretty doomed from the start. I'm just curious, does anyone here have a drone?
Does anyone have a drone?
Did you guys crash it the first time you got it out of the box?
Yes.
Yeah. So exactly. So essentially, the benefit, if you never flown a drone, is you get to fly a drone in a safe environment where you're protected from legal aspects of flying a drone, where you cannot hurt anybody, and where you have people how to train and guide you on how to fly a drone. And then if you're a more experienced user, once again, you're indoors, so you don't have to worry about some of the legality on a federal, state, or tribal level. You don't have to worry about the liability of going to a public place and flying a flying lawnmower at 60 miles an hour. And then you don't have to deal with the weather as well. So.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Kickstarter. I just looked on Kickstarter. You haven't raised less than $6,000 and you've got 11 days left.
Yep.
Another campaign for looks like something similar that didn't succeed. What was your purpose with going with Kickstarter?
I think we had several purposes. It was just to first of all, to see what would happen. It was an experiment, and then as well just to sort of give this really large community we have of over 105,000 people online an outlet to just prove how enthusiastic they are for this. And ultimately what we found is that with 105,000 people, you just can't do a Kickstarter. You have to draw people in from Kickstarter, like the website. And so, ultimately, honestly, a drone park just isn't a Kickstarter product. You can go and sell a credit card holder, and it will sell for $8 million. $8 million worth of Kickstarter. However, a drone park is not. So, yeah.
So it was more of a marketing ploy than actually trying to raise the money.
Well, so it was trying to raise the money, and that was the main purpose behind it. However, we've had some opportunities open up to us since Kickstarter happened that have helped us in that sense.
But you mentioned you're opening next month with an angel investor.
Mm-hmm.
You really weren't 100% dependent on the campaign being successful.
Oh no, absolutely not. We couldn't.
What other questions?
You mentioned that you also teach people how to fly drones and some sort of certificate that you can get being certified drone flyer or something.
I'm sorry. Can someone repeat that? I didn't quite.
Yeah, that you're teaching people and they can get certification for drone flying.
Yeah. So essentially, what about it?
Video production or photographers, people, it seems like using drones for video reasons or photography is like a big thing that they're marketing towards that group of people and certified.
Yeah. So essentially, the certificate that we'd be helping people to achieve is something called their Part 107, which enables you to receive compensation for flying a drone. So essentially what that means is that, like, if I come and I want to take photos with my racing drone here, or which, I wouldn't, I can't receive anything for that. I have to do it just out of the goodness of my heart. I can't even. You guys can't pay me $1. So in order to receive compensation for this, I have to go and get my Part 107, which is sort of, you can think of it as like your driver's license, but for flying a commercial drone. And that will enable you to become a professional drone photographer, fly oil and gas pipeline, or fly inside of an Amazon distribution center for compensation. So
it seems like that addresses the what, the certification. But I think some of what was also being asked was just, are you guys looking into having additional training for more of the how, like to do dronography? Learn some of the actual soft skills of doing that above and beyond just getting the certification to be allowed to do it.
I see. Yeah. So initially, our plan is to actually outsource that part of that education. So that commercial education segment, we're already actually seeing some market maturation in that sense. So there's people like, for example, Dart Drones, who are very good at teaching people how to fly commercially. And they have all of these various endorsements where they can teach you to become a drone cinematographer or a drone inspector for telecom towers. And they can do that very well. And so that would really be something that we'd leave up to them, and just sort of hands off in that sense.
So you're providing the space for them to
teach.
Yeah, it's space to teach.
It's like the gym with the equipment.
Correct.
And they're, okay.
Yeah, because these commercial schools are having the same problem as everybody else, which is, I go outside, and if you're in Chattanooga today and you're trying to fly outdoors, you can't.
Yeah.
And it's like trying to go get your train for your driver's license when you're 16 and being like, well, guys, it's raining, so we can't do it today.
Yeah.
How terrible would that be? And so yeah.
That's actually a good point, because there was a company here who was training pilots for drones for GPS surveying. And so they brought all these professionals in from all over, and the weather was horrible. So they couldn't, where would they go? So it kind of sucked. They could only do the instructional learning part of the training program.
Yeah, they needed a drone park, I'm telling you.
Yeah, exactly. What are some partnerships partnerships that you're looking for, or that you've already found that are helpful for what you're building?
Let's see. I think, what's been really great for us is right now our best opportunity is actually in Waco, which I know it's wild and okay, you guys probably think of Waco and you guys think of the standoff. But Waco.
Oh, okay.
Sorry?
Keep going. I couldn't hear.
Contextualizing.
Okay. But yeah, Waco, Texas is actually a completely different town now than it was 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. So you have a town, similar size to Chattanooga, 125,000 people in Waco. But they get 1.9 million visitors a year. And so there's just tourists everywhere. And so for that reason, Waco's our best opportunity. But reason B is that in Waco, you have this really great combination of, you have a small town, yet there's no bureaucracy. There is really great, helpful people. And, literally in a weekend in Waco, we accomplished what it would have taken us 3 or 4 months to in Houston. We met with, media, local media. We met with the Small Business Development Committee there. We met with the Chamber of Commerce, all in 3 days. And so I think it's just really great things like that have happened to us that have sort of been our best partnerships. Yeah.
What's your competitive advantage that's going to keep you being the person to do this? Because once you have success, which it sounds like it also might get to me, and I think you probably will have it, at least some success. How do you protect that? Because largely it seems like from the 15 minutes that we've been hearing about this, it's something that could be replicated relatively easily. So how are you protecting that?
Yeah, so there's some truth to that. So it can be replicated easily, but not as easily as other things per se.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like it would be a much harder than, say, for example, a go-karting track or an iFly even. I think. Do you guys have iFly?
Yeah.
I think there's one in Nashville, maybe. But anyway.
Wait.
Um,
Oh.
yeah, the indoor skydiving. Anyhow, so like first thing, so like there's a lot of opportunity to develop proprietary technology in this, right? Because no one else is doing this, and no one else has. There's never been a need to figure out, okay, well, how can we fly all of these drones in a tiny space comparatively around hundreds of people every day? You know, everything, all the technology right now revolves around, okay, well, I'm going to go fly this in a field and just sort of, you know, and by myself. And so our biggest opportunity there is just developing technology, filing IP around it, and just continuing to develop it and get ahead of the curve. So,
are you having to buy, like, are you limited in the types of drones that you can provide in your park? Because I made reference to something before about like a go-kart track, but you're kind of putting together a bumper drone park to a certain extent. I mean, it's inevitable. So how are you having to limit what you can include as options to things that can handle that kind of wear and tear?
Yes.
So finding another way around that.
Yeah. So it's, believe it or not, it's actually like a lot harder than you think to hit two drones together, especially if you're a beginner. You know, because it's easy with go-karts because you're only moving in two dimensions, right? X and Y. But then with drones, you have that dimension. So it's just a whole nother level of complexity, really. So yeah, we are looking at durable drones right now. We want to just buy drones straight from China. And then later on down the road, we're actually looking at developing our own proprietary drone, specifically for this purpose of, you know, teaching people how to fly. So, and what's your name?
Jake.
Jake. Cool, man. Thank you. You've been great.
Hi, I'm Nicole, and I just have one question about.
Hey, Nicole. Thanks for coming.
About the facility. So you said like an older, worn down building, preferably in a downtown. But have you thought about? I'm sure you have big box stores that have been abandoned, or is that too much square footage?
Like an old Walmart.
Exactly.
Kmart.
And those are everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Yeah, and there's only going to be more of them, as I'm sure your friends from Amazon will tell you. So we have looked at big box retail, old and abandoned, and it could work. It definitely could. For us, it's just more of a convenience factor. Here in Texas, there's not a lot of just sort of older, rundown retail locations like that. So we just haven't really been able to look at them. You know, maybe there is, and we just don't know about them. But yeah, so it's certainly possible.
There's one in Chattanooga.
Perfect excuse.
Talking about like Kmart.
Yes,
No, I
Kmart.
know. There's
Kmart's right.
yeah, the Kmart like
Kmart's
a pop-up
gone.
store right now.
Yeah.
Are they,
Or
what's the height requirement? Is there usually
12 feet
12.
minimum.
What's your ideal?
yeah, what's your perfect?
You know, honestly, we don't know the question or the answer to that question yet. That's one of those things where we put it down on paper theoretically, and we're like, all right, that sounds like it could be right, you know, and we just don't know until we have the data around what people like and what works best. So,
Do you have any data on like drones per square foot? Like we have 1,000 square feet of actual flying space or whatever, 10. But we can hold a max of 300 drones in that space before we're increasing, you know, a noticeable increase in the risk of wrecks or whatever.
I see what you're saying. So, yes and no.
Yes.
We know, okay, if we have, you know, like a drone and it's flying at X speed, how, you know, predictable things, right? Like how fast it can go across the actual flight area, and things like that. However, honestly, just like that big X factor is how well people can fly and how well they can avoid various things and avoid each other as well. So we have a sense for it, but it's still, there's still that huge X factor. So
Yeah.
these are great questions, by the way.
So once, assuming you're successful, what's your expansion? Are you going to franchise, or are you just going to own all the parks?
Worldwide.
Yeah. Yeah, we always tell people we're not called worldwide because we want to stay in Texas forever.
It is the center of the universe.
Right. And so, yeah, so essentially our plan for expansion is a model similar to franchising, however, not exactly that. So.
I just have a question. Which location so far has been open the longest?
Can you repeat that, please?
Location. There's not.
There's nothing open right now.
Yeah. She said which locations open the longest.
Which location?
Yeah.
In terms of what?
Do you have an operating location right now?
Do we? No, we do not.
I was just curious, when you look at your expenses, when you do your forecast, you're doing this, of course it's fun, but you're doing this to make a profit. This is what you want to do.
Yeah.
How many members, or is it membership based, or do I pay by the visit?
Yeah, so it is membership based. Depending on the market, that may change or be adjusted slightly. So for example, like in a market like Waco, where we have huge, massive influx of tourism, obviously we would sell less memberships because people are coming to Waco for the weekend or for the day. And, between going to various other activities, they're stopping at the drone park. Whereas, for example, like in Austin, we would predict just the opposite to happen, and we'd predict to sell more memberships. So it is centered around memberships. However, that varies on the market.
So you probably really don't know how many memberships you need. It just depends on how much expense you have at each location.
Correct. Yeah, correct. I mean, we have an idea for the ranges, but we're just not sure what'll happen. It's one of those things where we have to just be like, well, we have to open and we'll tell you. Yeah.
But also you have, I would think you would need to look at the market and say, what's the market willing to pay? So we got to look for a location that's going to only have so much expense, which is going to be rent and utilities and liability insurance. You're going to kind of know what locations you have a profit at based on how many members you can draw, because probably only charge so much. Have you looked at what that dollar figure might be based on family versus individuals, or?
Yeah, we have. Honestly, I don't know the number off the top of my head. That's something Marjorie's covered a little bit more extensively than I have. So yeah, we have. I just don't know the numbers.
So if I wanted to be a member, just a single person, what would I be paying?
So you'd be paying anywhere between $60 to $90 a month.
And that's unlimited access?
Correct. So that is more curriculum to learn. That's discounted rentals, and then that's discounts at a retail location, and then some access to exclusive online content as well.
So the membership does not include drones? You have to rent them every time you go?
Correct. However, it is discounted. So it'll bring your costs much down more. But that's one of the things we're working through right now. So
something that, going back to, I'd asked you about competitive advantage, and now I'll give advice about competitive advantage. If you can, before you enter a market, if you can get whoever, it seems like there's somebody training in different capacities probably already in most of the markets that you're going to choose to go to as part of the choice to go there. But if you can lock in with, anytime you're going to use Trainer X exclusively trains at your location, that's going to be
the talent
advantage to kind of lock down a market, even if it doesn't protect all markets, protects you in that market.
I think that's a really great piece of feedback. Thanks so much, Jake. Yeah, I think that's a very valid point. So, and that's something we haven't thought about as well. So, yeah, thank you.
One more question. So I know you mentioned this earlier, but the last question is, what can our community do for you?
Yeah, I think this is great. I think yeah, I just hear your thoughts on Chattanooga, which we did, and yeah, I'd love to connect with you guys on LinkedIn, and yeah, that's about it. So thank you guys, and yeah, grab us on social media if you'd like. So.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, we have a mug here for you, so whenever you come to Chattanooga, you can.
I love it. Well, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thanks for spending your morning with us.
Yeah, I was so excited. This is the first presentation I've ever done without my pants on, so.
All right, well, we'll end it here.
Yeah, well, hey, thank
right,
you
thanks,
so much.
Nick.
Have a great Wednesday.
Bye.
Happy holidays, everybody.
All right, bye.
See you later. Bye-bye.